it's Mel and Devin here. We just want to give you guys a quick update about our last video. I know a lot of people had questions about our emergency landing, wanted to know more details about it. We just wanted to say thank you to everybody for all of your kind words. It really does mean a lot to us. I'd say we've read all of them. We spent a lot of time reading them, and most of them were just so sweet and so kind, and it really did mean a lot to us.
There was so much feedback. I mean, it was really overwhelming. We started off, kind of excited, like, hey, people are saying thank you and people are appreciative, and that was really the point of posting it. But then it just took off, and there was just so much feedback. So again, we really appreciate it.
We were really reluctant on sharing this video just because it's very personal, and putting stuff on the internet nowadays does open you up for criticism, and that can be scary sometimes. But the biggest thing is that we wanted to start a conversation between the CFIs and the students to, if we could help them out somehow, to say, hey, what would I do in that situation? How would I react?
Yeah, just to bring some awareness to it. I mean, when you do our pilot training, power off landings is just another maneuver on the list. It's a little bit different though when you have to turn off your own engine, and when would you do that, and thinking about the restart procedure and stuff like that. I intentionally cut out what we did. I didn't want to be seen as endorsing or suggesting or promoting any solution, but just, as Mel said, we just wanted to have some awareness and say, hey, talk to your CFI and how should you do this for your aircraft and your experience, and just think about it ahead of time, like we've thought about stalls and everything else that we go through.
And the other thing is that we wanted to say thank you and kind of show the amazing job that air traffic control did for us. I know for me, having that calm voice talking to us did make a big difference on staying calm, because he was just so calm and relaxed with us, and I definitely felt that.
Yeah, and then when you hear the other side of that, what we don't normally hear in the airplanes, just the second controller working, calling the supervisors and getting the alignment and getting the support all that they need, working through the towers and then the center that we were talking with, even being able to call up our mechanic on the phone and work through the issues, or just kind of pose some questions. They're just really amazing, and just wanted to say thank you and frankly show off how much work that they actually do for us up there. In the feedback, one of the most common questions was, hey, well, what did you do? So we have the video out there, and obviously you see where our, that downwind leg and that base to final is all cut out. And that's on purpose. Again, we didn't want to be seen as endorsing or suggesting and promoting one way or the other. We really wanted to have the CFI and the pilot have that discussion to understand what they should do in their plane. But it is what everybody is asking, so here's a little bit more detail of our story. We were given number 2 to the field from Memphis Center, and we were given a heading for some spacing. When we turned that heading, as we all do, we don't want to be going fast and away from the airport, so I wanted to slow down, brought the prop up, wanted to go bring the throttle back, and sometimes there's a bit of a lag in that throttle, and I'm pulling it back, and it's just not moving. So the manifold pressure and RPMs, everything was just staying where it was. And I'm looking at that in the panel, and then all of a sudden the gear horn comes on. So obviously that's when I knew that, okay, the throttle's all the way back and nothing's moving. So I got rid of the gear horn so that we weren't going to alarm anybody. And I tried to reassure Mel that, oh, yeah, that's just the gear horn. It's fine. It's because we're not landing. Yeah, I thought it did. So then we switched over the audio panel. I tried to isolate myself and called up center and said that, hey, we're going to need some help. We have a problem.
That's when I knew something was wrong for sure.
So center, as you hear in the tape, are just amazing. They come right to work to, first of all, keep us calm, reassure us, and then also start to scramble on, hey, what are we going to do with this guy? So in that moment, I will say that I was pretty sure that we were going to do a power off landing. But I wasn't in a rush, and I did want to take some time just to really understand it. But, I mean, the title of the video gives it away. We had a broken throttle cable. But in this moment, walk this through with me, I don't know what's really going on. And I start to lose a little bit of confidence, or at least everything else is suspect. from this point on. It's kind of like the expression about your weather forecast. If you see things that weren't forecasted, then the whole forecast should be suspect. Well, that's kind of how I felt about the engine and the plane. So we wanted to get to the airport, and we wanted to circle around. And I love when we do cross country flight plans. I love the intersecting runways. I feel like it helps me with the wind, and I'm a little bit less concerned about wind shifting directions and getting big crosswinds if I don't need to. So if I'm not going to an airport and we're just stopping for fuel or for food, I'll try to pick those. So I knew that we had a 10,000 foot runway, which made me feel really good. And I knew that we had some intersecting runways so that if we did an orbit, I kept our options open, and we're keeping ground contact most of the time, and making sure we had plenty of options and plenty of outs. As we kind of work through the problem, the piece that I cut out is the actual landing and how did we get to gear speed, and then how did we get down onto the ground. So you hear us in the pattern, you hear us doing the orbit, then we jumped on the downwind, and that's where I cut out a lot of the video. So nothing really magical, probably a lot of what everybody would do in this situation. Jumped in on the downwind. We did have to descend in the downwind, so we picked up a little bit too much speed again. So we're doing 150, 155 knots on the downwind. So when we turned base to final, I did need to do a 360, and we did that with a little bit of a pitch up to again help us to slow down. When we turned final 5 miles straight in, it looked basically just like a regular approach at that point. And we did do a pitch up, not a significant pitch up, but just enough to get us down below gear speed. And we were probably 2 knots below gear speed when I had my hand on the lever and dropped it. My instructors were amazing at United Flight Systems, and I knew that if I killed the engine, I couldn't do a power gear extension. And I didn't want to be up there rocking my wings trying to get my gear to lock with a manual extension. So that was the plan, was to extend it with a power on, drop the gear, but I had to get below gear speed. So we did that with a little bit of a climb, and again, nothing too dramatic, but just enough to get below gear speed. Once we dropped the gear, that created enough drag that it brought me pretty close to flap speed. And again, I wasn't looking to be the test pilot of, hey, what happens if you drop gear above gear speed? I just didn't want to have to do that if I didn't have to, and I didn't think I had to, so that worked. The flap speed, obviously that helps us. Power off landings, we're kind of, our training is no flaps until landing is assured. So you just had to I had to wrestle that with myself to say, okay, so that's my training. But in this case, landing is pretty much assured. My issue is I need to slow down. So we did do 1 notch of flaps with the power on still. Again, 10,000 foot runway. I'm shooting well on the other side of those 1,000 foot markers just to give us lots of margin there. But here's what I wanted to share that I didn't put in the video, is that I was planning for the engine to be kind of on or off. On full throttle or off as in cut. But when we started pulling back on the mixture, the engine started to reduce performance, as you can imagine, and in hindsight it makes total sense. But I'll admit, in the moment, I was ready for kind of an on or an off, 1 or a 0 type of thing. When we started pulling back on the mixture, the engine started to slowly calm down, and we were able to control somewhat of the performance of the engine and then the RPMs. It didn't take that much long, or it didn't feel like it took long, but once landing was assured, we did kill the engine entirely, and then with 2 notch of flaps in, we were able to do a pretty stable approach. I think we were doing 90 knots, 85 knots by the time we were getting into that over top of the threshold. So that felt really good, felt normal, frankly. And then maybe the personal highlight is we made it past the hold short bars.
And it was the smoothest landing.
I was very focused on this landing. I didn't want to have to try it again. But I'm sure the citation that was in a hold as we did our landing was happy that we got through those hold short bars. So I took a little bit of pride in that, and not having to stop right on the runway. So that felt pretty cool.
For me, a lot of people are asking how I seem so calm. I didn't seem scared or stressed at all. I'm glad that I could put that on the exterior because that was not the case on the interior. I was scared. I mean, you've practiced so much of this. You've studied, you've practiced, you knew the ins and out. For me, I knew that we were stuck full speed. I didn't know what was going on, and our children were in the plane with us. So anytime that there's a chance for them to have any kind of a scratch, I'm terrified. So I was definitely nervous. I was definitely really scared. It was kind of a strange feeling for me because I had the confidence in Devin. I knew that I've seen him study. I knew that he could do it. That was never a doubt. I guess it was just life happens. Things happen. Uncontrollable things happen. So I knew that there was always, I knew it was a small, but I knew there was a chance of something bad happening. And I tried not to think about it. I, in my head, knew that I had to remain calm. I knew that if I showed any amount of fear, Devin would take care of me. And I think you looked at me at one point and I told you not to look at me to work the plane because I knew that his attention couldn't be on me, that I had nowhere to go. I was in my seat, although I really wanted to move. But I was in my seat and I knew that I just had to stay there, stay calm, keep everybody, the kids calm mostly. They still don't really know that anything happened. And we wanted it that way. We didn't want them to be scared of flying. We didn't want them to be afraid of everything. So when I tucked them in with their teddy bears, I took anything that was hard away from them, and they kind of looked at me and said, why? Because normally we let them have their iPads for landing. And so I said, here's your blankets. I tucked them all around and I made sure their seatbelts were nice and tight. And they just looked at me and I said, it's different airports, going to be a little bumpier than usual. I said, there's a little something wrong, but nothing major. So it's just going to be a little bumpier. I just want you to have something soft. And they just kind of looked at me like, okay.
I will say though, so the power off landings, again, we all practice them. We do them. And yeah, this one was a little bit different that I didn't have my instructor beside me and I couldn't just say, whoops, I missed that one. I'm going to try it again and then do 3 more that day. But I will say, though, that my first timer over here on the power off landing, I think was an absolute trooper. And, just going back to the earlier comment about we debated about posting this and, kind of exposing the family to the internet and whatnot. And we had good reasons to do it, so we ended up posting it. But I think seeing the feedback that is coming in, everybody's a big fan of this one, and that made me that helps, and then that makes me feel a little bit better. The dinging is the hockey game is starting, so we're all a little anxious to go get over to the hockey game now.
And for final, I guess there's a lot of people to thank. A few in particular. One complete stranger flew from Houston because we were stranded in Mississippi, which is a 10-hour drive. We had 1 day to get back before the kids started school, and I did not want to drive back.
Not to mention a 10-hour drive.
Yeah, I did not want to drive back. So Chad came. He left Houston.
A total stranger.
Complete stranger. He's never met us. He doesn't know why we're stuck. He just said, yeah, I'm on my way. I'll come pick you up. So he flew to Mississippi and picked us up and flew us back and then drove us around to get our car. I mean, that meant the world to us. Devin has always told me the aviation community is a wonderful community. And I believed him because that's what he told me. After seeing this, the aviation community has a big part of my heart now because between the comments, people giving time, it was a long weekend. It's a precious long weekend, and he took, 6 hours to come and get us. So that was amazing. AJ, the mechanic in Mississippi, came out, again, long weekend. He helped us a lot with his calmness and just being empathetic with us. I think he's a wonderful person. We're really blessed to have met him as well. At the airport, I mean, everybody was just wonderful. The whole
crew at the airport, from getting us tugged off the off the taxiway, not off the runway, but off the taxiway.
Proud of that one, huh?
A little bit.
Okay.
The people at the FBO were just so nice to the kids. They made sure that they were entertained and they had what they needed. They're helping me find, first of all, they brought a car to the plane and just said, here you go, it's all yours.
Yeah. Good things come out of bad situations, and we've definitely seen more good than we've seen bad come out of this situation, and we appreciate that so much.
Bobby flying us, so we had to go pick up the plane, right?
Yeah.
So Bobby's saying, hey, I'll fly you out, and then we'll fly back together.
I stayed home.
Yeah, and Bobby won't admit it, but he made sure that I was okay too. He knew that my last flight didn't go as planned, and you could tell that he cared and was being reassuring. Even if he did go on the radio and when asked if we were a flight, he said, "Well, we're kind of friends." I'm not sure what that meant, but I'll take it as a compliment. So thanks, Bobby. Thanks, Chad. Thanks, AJ. Thanks everybody at Meridian Airport. Ray, thank you, Ray. We forgot Ray, our own mechanic.
Oh, your own mechanic, Ray.
Who, by the way,
is the one that said, "Uh-oh."
Yeah.
And we love you for that.
and I didn't text him when we got on the ground right away, and I probably should have. So sorry, Ray, if we left you in suspense there, but everything's fine. And,
we're okay. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, and I mean, it really was just a power off landing. Thanks again to the ATC guys. Can't say it enough. We debated on sharing the video, and at the end of it was, we sat down. We were saying, well, one, ATC. I mean, those guys rocked, and we should put that out there if we can, and just again say thank you. But then two, just hey, pilot, CFI, have a chat. And I think the biggest prize out of all this for us was the comments that say, I'm either sharing this with my students, thank you, or hey, I'm going to bring this up to my CFI. And I mean, it's just a discussion. It's just something to think about that maybe you didn't think about in your normal training, and you'll be more prepared than I was when it happened. So yeah, appreciate it, everybody. And
we were back in the air this Sunday with no issues.
It was
fun. We took a short flight. The kids had no problems getting back in, which is what we wanted. I didn't have a problem getting in.
You didn't. It was, the latest that we've ever left for lunch. But she found
I wanted a lazy day. I was tired.
So we do have proof. We filmed it just to prove that she did in fact jump back in. But
I'm not afraid of getting back in, though. To me, how you handled the situation, to me, just showed me that your training, that you put all that effort in it, and you listened, and you really did great. I mean, it gives me more confidence in you. I mean, yeah, I was scared at the time, but now seeing how we handle it.
So now we're definitely posting this because you just admitted that I listen. It's recorded.
Well, I said you listen.
Period.
I didn't say you listen to me. Yeah. I said you listen in your training. Those are two very different things.
I'm editing the video. I can just stop. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, everybody, and we just really appreciate everybody's feedback and wanted to just close the loop and tell maybe the rest of the story and debrief a little bit, I guess.
And thank you to everybody that subscribed to our channel. That helps us out a lot, and we really appreciate it.
Makes it fun. So, all right, thanks, guys. Bye.
See you later. Start laughing when you push the button.
Okay, let's keep going.
Hey guys, it's Mel and Devin here. It's Mel and Devin here. We just wanted to.
Say it again, to start.
Okay. Don't make me laugh. Okay. This is how people...
Let's go!
Okay.
Hockey game's on. Keep it together.
I can't because now I have the giggles. I'm not going to be able to do this.
We don't have anybody else to do the editing. Like, it's me. Thank you.
I know, but that look. Yeah. So, okay, I'll start again. Just editing purposes. How do I start? We wanted to, first off, thank you. We wanted to,
again, we're just hoping to draw some attention to the situation and we're just hoping to draw some attention to one of the biggest, or one of the